at 10 reps apiece. And what you see a lot of athletes are doing is this hunched over hunch position.
There is Jason Hopper, who's towards front of the barbell. We'll listen to that in my Garson.
Well, through one day of the competition, currently 7 of the top 10 spots on the leaderboard are occupied by international athletes. So let's strap this event for an international audience. These athletes are putting 136 kilograms overhead, and it is foggy here in the north part. It is a warm 29 degrees Celsius. Now, whether you count pounds or kilograms, all the athletes are very excited that the blocks are included in this event because it allows for a greater margin of error. They can push point and pass that point of fatigue and get a few more jerk attempts in there, knowing that they have the blocks to save them if they do fail.
Thank you, Mike.
Dan, we're talking about trying to recover in between intervals and that lactic acid buildup from these repetitive sprints. This 2-minute block, anything specific you were doing to try to recover for this third and final round?
Just keep myself calm, stay focused on the task. You know, nice, slow, deep breaths, not getting too excited or too worried about what has just happened or what needs to happen. Just focusing on what my goals are for the run, and then I anticipate to get on the jerks. There's Hasenkamp, who is looking to move his way up the overall standings. Finished 5th last year, career best finisher at the CrossFit Games. I think one of the things that's deceiving about this organization is all the running, and it's like, okay, now they're going to do an upper body movement. It's like, no, they're not. They are getting the majority of the power of that barbell to get off their chest with their lower body. So being able to knock out 4 or 5 reps at 300 pounds with using your lower body and running as hard as they are is really, really impressive. O2, the official recovery drink and hydration mix of the Medball CrossFit Games. You can visit drinko2.com/CrossFit for $45 site-wide on O2 recovery drinks and hydration mixes. Hasenkamp in the lead here on this 800 meter with 4-minute window here to get the run and as many short overheads as you can.
Talking earlier is that, you know, in the 400, you obviously you are the freshest, but it's also an opportunity, I think, to kind of screw up your pace and the adrenaline in the crowd and maybe tip the scales too much. We may have seen that from Caravis a little bit, but as far as the ability or the opportunity to get the most time on something, that longer distance is really your best shot there. So when you look at, Dan, you know, for the 400, 600, 800, you see any kind of steady pace throughout there, but was there any advantage or you see for some of these athletes to take the opportunity when you have it for the 800 maybe get 5 to 10 seconds that you wondered about earlier on the 400?
Yeah, absolutely. The 400 meters, I would say, is the perfect distance to put yourself in a hole if you're not careful about what you're doing. So if you come out way too hot, that 1-minute recovery is not going to be a whole lot as you jump back into the 600 meters. So if you get over your skis a little bit in that first one, it's definitely going to set you up for some damage here in the 800. You're going to feel it if you went out too fast in spite of those race limits. Halfway through this 4-minute window, Hasenkamp continues to lead here. Right now, he's
30 Medball Situps.
He is towards the front as well.
Good job, Travis.
And just over with Jason Hopper. So Hasenkamp, 32nd place overall coming into this event. Looking to move into maybe the top 20.
Saxon has a decent relationship with North Park Field in a sprinting event. 2019, he actually won that event to get him into basically from a cut line. That's what he needed to get into it. And obviously what he did from there was pretty impressive, getting himself a top 10 finish. So some places feel a little bit more like home. You know, Dan, you've been competing for a long time in different arenas throughout the years. You know, do you feel like you have some type of connection with something like tennis stadium versus soccer stadium versus outdoor arena? Maybe something that's more, you know, you perform better in certain places. Do you feel that as an athlete?
I think anybody who competed when I did out at the Home Depot Center or Step Up Center, you have that connection with the tennis stadium. It was super special with the lights. in the crowd, in the community, and always elevating your performance. So I have no doubt that these athletes have some special places in their life, whether out on the field today or at the Coliseum here in Madison.
Saxon Panchik unofficially at 3:08 on an 800-meter run.
Looks good.
Hopper is back to barbell, I believe. He's through 12 matches in Saxon Panchik.
Saxon's doing the same thing that Tia did. He's not letting go of his hands. He's in the upper left lane.
Hopper is on the right, trying to stay even with Saxon Panchik. Right now, the two of them just about even as Saxon is fairly ahead of Hopper right now. And both will be able to get this lift. Saxon Panchik, unofficially 17, is going to edge out Jason Hopper by 1 rep. Tim Paulson and Tudor Magna were behind them at 15 each. And Willie George at 13. Saxon looking like he set the mark to beat in both the run and the lift.
As Dan said, it's something about an arena you perform the best in. And outdoor North Park might be that for Saxon Panchik. And you know, this is the first rep coming in from that 400, and everybody's first or second rep looked a little sketchy. It's not like something you get to really test in the warm-up area, but after that, once he got his feet underneath him, this is when he started to pick up the pace a little bit, because he was not first after the 400. But Dan, as you said, is that there's really not a lot to gain by pushing that 400, more just what to lose. But overhead, Saxon looks so good. I love how he kept his hands on the barbell. T was doing the same thing. Obviously, some strategy from Shane Orr giving to his athletes, but at the very end, when there was 1 second left on the clock, his big deal is there to at least rack it and give himself at least one more opportunity for one more rep.
What is this rest day you speak of?
I thought this was National Gable Heroes Day.
Not supposed to be an off day today, but got to roll some heavy barbells out in the North Park here at the Alliant Energy Center. Glad you're with us, everybody, for the second and final heat of the event number 2 on your scorecard. Ricky Garrard is your overall leader. Justin Medeiros sits in second. Pat Veller went from 20th to 8th to 3rd yesterday. Let's send it down to Mike Garza with more on Ricky Garrard.
Well, this is Ricky's first appearance at the CrossFit Games since 2017. He's acquitted himself very well thus far with 3 finishes inside the top 10, including 100 points on event number 1. I spoke to his coach, Justin Collin, in the warm-up area, and he said Ricky is back to normal. Nerves got the best of him back in the semifinal because he's so stressed out to try to qualify for the CrossFit Games. Now that he's here, it's all gravy, but now that he finds himself in the leader's jersey, he wants to stay there. His strategy here for event number 2 is to try to win, get 100 points on the run portion and have damage control on the lift portion.
Shuttle and Overhead is presented by O2.
400-meter run to start in that 2-minute time frame, and the time they have left, max shoulder to overhead at 300 pounds, and there's that 1-minute break. Moving into that second section, Sean, 2 scores, 1 for the run and 1 for the lift. You got to move fast, you got to lift heavy. You have to have the best of both worlds, and a lot of athletes in this heat have an opportunity to be in the top of both of those.
20 men in the second and final heat Colton Mertens is a guy who can certainly move some weight, so look for him to do well on the shoulder to overhead portion. And then in lanes 11 through 20, a pair of guys who can really motor. That's Uldis Upniks and Lazar Jukic. Jeff Adler is someone that we'll be paying attention to when he gets to the barbell, but it's Guy Magneros. When you talk about a guy who might be tailor-made for this event, it's him.
Well, Guy won the sprint last year, and he won the lift last year, and he is one of the most powerful and strongest athletes in the field across the board.
Top 3 men in the overall standings will all be right next to each other. Ricky Garrard, Justin Medeiros, and Pat Bell.
Look at this opening 400, and again, as we said in the first heat, is trying to temper the intensity and not get wrapped up into the race too soon. There is a long way to go after this 1,400 meters of sprinting after this 400.
You know, it's funny you mentioned on the last heat in that first set, when these guys come back after the 400, they appear to be a little bit shaky sometimes on their first rep. It's important to note when the athletes are coming out of the floor, there's a process to come out of the floor. You have to be corralled first. You're called over. You have to be in these different places at certain times. So the last time they touched 300 pounds to go overhead may have been 15 minutes ago or longer. So that first rep is definitely a little shaky.
Ricky Garrard is towards the front. Noah Olsen, I believe, is right there too. Velder. And Krennikov and Medeiros also towards the front.
Yeah, I know Velder got cut on a sprint back in 2019, and I think he got that label that he's not a good sprinter, and it's actually not the case. Velder is really, really good on his feet. We're talking about speed overall.
Bottom of your screen is Austin Spencer, and he's hanging towards the front as well here. Ricky Garrard is going to be the first man back to the barbell. Krennikov and Velder, and now Austin Spencer as well.
As Cutler says, the plan really is to get Ricky a good 100 points potentially here on the shuttle run. And whatever he can do overhead, it is not necessarily a priority for him.
Koski on the right side of the barbell as well. Lazar Jukic on the far right side of your screen. Going through his list, less than 15 seconds to go. Garrard, Adler are your leaders right now, both through 3 reps. Jeff Adler is now through 4.
Top bill, Justin Medeiros, who's sitting in second place, has just an amazing overhead position, and that is a huge, huge advantage when we're talking about his strength under fatigue, that power position, but the technique that he has overhead with that flexibility is a massive advantage when it comes to this movement under fatigue.
You talk about technique too. I was actually watching Pat Bellner when the bar was actually coming down. It bounced funny when he brought it down. He didn't bring it down at the perfect angle, so it was a little bit off. He had spent some time shuffling and readjusting his bar when you only have 30 seconds and every rep's going to count. That can be a big thing in this event.
We move into the second portion of shuttle to overhead. Now the 3-minute window to run 600 meters and get the max jerks. And it's Adler, Magneros, Garrard, and Medeiros who are all tied with 6 shoulder to overhead. Krennikov and Spencer Panchik have 5 along with Sam Quan, and then the rest of the field right behind them by a rep or 2.
Tell you what, the 1-minute rest minute is the fastest minute of your life in CrossFit.
No doubt about it.
It's like doing those Tabata intervals of 20 seconds on, 10 seconds off, and by about 4 intervals, like this feels like 57 seconds off and under those seconds.
Uldis Upniks now is out front. You see Noah Olsen and Will Borat. Well, Rubison making the turn. O2 is the official recovery drink and hydration mix of the Noble CrossFit Games. Visit drinko2.com/CrossFit for $25 site-wide on O2 recovery drinks and hydration mixes. Uldis Upniks is really throttling this 600-meter run.
And that just looks very intentional as far as this is where he thinks he's going to try to get the most time on the field. I'm not even sure if you're thinking about push jerks and what may be the repercussions there, or even the 800 after this.
Right, yeah, it finished within maybe a second or two of the top guys in that 400, and I'm really going to put a gap on them in the 600. It really looks like what the strategy is here.
Each one he plans on getting faster and thinks he will get faster every round.
made up any time he lost in that 400 meters by a lot.
And it almost forces the other athletes to make a decision because you can't really predict what the next 800 is going to look like. So do you get out of your own game plan to maybe not lose that time? Because I don't know if you want to run that much faster on the 800 to close that gap.
Right, exactly.
Makes way out front, and it looked like it was Ricky Garrard in second, and Pat Feller in third on this 600-meter run. 3-minute window here. Newton thinks it's just about done.
Looks like slowing up just a little bit.
Be interested to see how much time he takes between this and through the finish line and get his hands on the barbell.
Thinks back to the barbell. Ahead of everybody else, here comes Materas, Garrard, Kurnikov, Feller. And Jukic was there as well, as he said there.
As I said, I think he's picked up more. Garrard is the first one to get rid in Medeiros was going up there.
Missing the lift.
Pat Feller just missed a lift, so Medeiros and Feller both missed that first attempt.
Feller, Garrard. That's 9.
Feller just missed another lift.
Feller looks like he may have gotten that one to his shoulders, and he's not going to get it. He lost that one.
So Feller failed 3 reps, and on the last one, it was even past the buzzer. And you know, Dan, you tested this, and a missed rep isn't just like, oh, you didn't get it. It's a full effort without the payoff.
Yeah, I mean, you have to account the entire time it took you to do that rep. And then the amount of time it takes you to reset and do your next rep after that. So it just couldn't quite look like he got his elbows, couldn't quite get it blocked out overhead.
And the big thing here